12 Green Berets, 200 enemy fighters, deep in hostile territory, no backup for days. Most military units would be wiped out. The Green Berets won. They fight outnumbered, deep behind enemy lines, and still win. But how? What makes U.S. Army Special Forces so effective that a handful of operators can change the outcome of entire wars? Welcome to Armed Insight. Today, we're breaking down the 6 tactics that make Green Berets unstoppable. By the end of this video, you'll understand why these elite warriors are unlike any other special operations force on Earth. Let's start with what makes them different. When most people think special operations, they think Navy SEALs, elite commandos who specialize in direct action, raids, hostage rescue. SEALs are surgical strike forces. They hit hard, hit fast, and get out. Green Berets operate differently. Their official name is U.S. Army Special Forces, and their primary mission is unconventional warfare. That means going into enemy or denied territory, sometimes months before conventional forces arrive, and building resistance movements, training indigenous fighters, gathering intelligence, and destabilizing enemy governments from within. Think of SEALs as the scalpel. Green Berets are the force multiplier. One 12-man Special Forces team can train and lead hundreds of local fighters, turning a small American presence into a massive combat force. Green Berets are also the most culturally trained soldiers in the U.S. military. They speak foreign languages, understand local customs, and can blend into populations where most Americans would stand out. They're diplomats, teachers, medics, and warriors all in one. This combination of skills makes them uniquely suited for the conflicts of the 21st century, where winning hearts and minds is just as important as winning firefights. So what are the 6 tactics that make this possible? Let's dive in. First, unconventional warfare. This is the core of what Green Berets do. While conventional forces fight armies head-on, Green Berets destabilize enemies through guerrilla tactics, sabotage, subversion, and by organizing local resistance movements. Imagine a hostile regime with a powerful military. Instead of invading with hundreds of thousands of troops, the U.S. sends in a handful of Green Beret teams. They link up with opposition groups, train them in weapons, tactics, and explosives, and coordinate attacks on critical infrastructure, supply lines, communication networks. Within weeks, the enemy is dealing with uprisings across multiple provinces. Their logistics are disrupted and their forces are spread thin, trying to counter threats everywhere. That's unconventional warfare. It's cost-effective, low signature, and devastatingly effective. Second, force multiplication. A 12-man Green Beret team isn't just 12 soldiers. Through training and advising indigenous forces, they can multiply their combat power by 10, 50, even 100 times. Each Special Forces soldier is cross-trained in multiple specialties: weapons, engineering, medicine, communications, intelligence. This means a single team can train an entire battalion of local fighters in everything from marksmanship to first aid to demolitions. The Green Berets provide leadership, coordination, air support, and advanced tactics. The indigenous forces provide manpower and local knowledge. Together, they become a formidable fighting force that can control entire regions. This was the model in Afghanistan in 2001. Small teams of Green Berets linked up with Northern Alliance fighters, called in precision airstrikes, and toppled the Taliban regime in weeks with minimal American casualties. It's one of the most successful special operations campaigns in history. Third, cultural immersion. Green Berets don't just parachute into a country and start giving orders. They embed themselves in local cultures, learn the language, understand tribal dynamics, respect customs, and build genuine relationships. Every Green Beret is trained in at least one foreign language, and many speak multiple languages fluently. They study regional history, religion, social structures. They eat local food, wear local clothing when appropriate, and take time to understand what motivates the people they're working with. This cultural competence is a strategic weapon. It builds trust. When locals trust you, they share intelligence, they fight harder, and they're less likely to be swayed by enemy propaganda. It also prevents costly mistakes that come from cultural ignorance. A Green Beret who understands that sitting with village elders and drinking tea is as important as combat operations will be far more effective than one who treats every interaction as transactional. This is soft power in action, and it wins wars. Fourth, intelligence gathering. Green Berets are often the eyes and ears on the ground in areas where the U.S. has no other presence. They collect human intelligence, observe enemy movements, identify key targets, and relay critical information back to command. Because they're embedded with local populations, they have access to information that satellites and drones can't provide. Who's the real power broker in a village? Which roads are mined? Where is the enemy storing weapons? What are local grievances that could be exploited? This intelligence doesn't just help Special Forces operations, it shapes entire military strategies, airstrikes, conventional troop movements, diplomatic initiatives. All of these can be informed by intelligence gathered by a single Green Beret team living among the people. And because they're trained in advanced surveillance, reconnaissance, and interrogation techniques, they can verify information, distinguish reliable sources from unreliable ones, and piece together the bigger picture. Fifth, precision raids. While training indigenous forces is their primary mission, Green Berets are also elite combat operators. When a high-value target needs to be captured or eliminated, they can execute surgical strikes with deadly efficiency. Unlike large-scale operations, these raids are small, fast, and precise. A Green Beret team infiltrates enemy territory, often at night, using advanced night vision and thermal optics. They hit their target, whether it's a terrorist leader, a weapons cache, or a command post, and they extract before the enemy can respond. These raids are planned down to the second. Every movement is choreographed. Fire support is pre-positioned. Contingency plans for every scenario are rehearsed. And because Green Berets train constantly, they can adapt on the fly when things don't go according to plan. The key is surprise and overwhelming violence of action. The enemy doesn't see them coming, and by the time they realize what's happening, it's over. Sixth, survival discipline. Green Berets operate in some of the most hostile environments on Earth. Jungles, mountains, deserts, Arctic tundra, enemy-controlled cities. They do it for months at a time with minimal resupply. This requires extreme mental and physical toughness. They're trained to survive on minimal food and water, navigate without GPS, treat their own injuries, and endure sleep deprivation and extreme stress while still performing at peak levels. Survival discipline isn't just about staying alive, it's about staying mission-capable. A Green Beret in week 6 of a deployment behind enemy lines needs to be just as sharp, just as focused, and just as dangerous as on day 1. This discipline is built through relentless training. The Special Forces Qualification Course is one of the longest and most difficult training pipelines in the U.S. military. It weeds out anyone who doesn't have the mental resilience to thrive under pressure. And it's not just individual toughness. It's team cohesion. Green Berets rely on each other completely. Trust, communication, and mutual support keep them alive and effective. Now let's look at how these tactics play out in real operations. Vietnam, the 1960s and 70s. Green Berets deployed to remote villages in South Vietnam, living among Montagnard tribesmen. They trained these indigenous fighters in guerrilla warfare, built fortified camps, and conducted reconnaissance missions deep into Viet Cong and North Vietnamese territory. Drop a comment below. What special operations unit should we cover next? Navy SEALs, Delta Force, Air Force Pararescue? Let us know. Until next time, stay informed, stay powerful,